The story of New York, from forest paths to a global city. Long before there were skyscrapers scraping the clouds, before yellow taxis and subway tunnels, before bright lights and crowded streets, the land we now call New York was quiet, alive with forests, rivers, and the steady rhythm of nature. The Lenape Native American tribe lived here for thousands of years. They called the land Mannahatta, meaning the island of many hills. Deer moved through thick woods, fish filled the rivers, and the Lenape traveled along paths that would one day become avenues and streets. They lived with the land, not above it, never imagining that this island would someday become one of the most powerful cities on Earth. The first outsiders. In 1609, a ship sailed into the harbor. Its captain was Henry Hudson, an English explorer sailing for the Dutch. He wasn't looking for a city, he was searching for a faster route to Asia. Instead, he found a wide river and a natural harbor so perfect it seemed almost designed for trade. The Dutch saw opportunity. In 1624, they founded a small settlement at the southern tip of Manhattan and named it New Amsterdam. It was not grand or glamorous. Wooden houses clustered together, dirt roads cut through the land, and a simple wall was built to protect the town. That wall, built out of fear of attack, would later give its name to Wall Street. The Dutch were traders, not conquerors. They believed in business, tolerance, and profit. People from different countries and religions were allowed to settle there. Even in its earliest days, New Amsterdam was diverse, something that would become New York's defining trait. Legend says the Dutch bought Manhattan from the Lenape for goods worth about 60 guilders. But the Lenape did not believe land could be owned in the same way Europeans did. What one side saw as a purchase, the other saw as shared use. That misunderstanding marked the beginning of centuries of conflict and change. From New Amsterdam to New York. In 1664, British ships arrived in the harbor. The Dutch were outnumbered and unprepared. Without firing a single shot, they surrendered. The British renamed the city New York in honor of the Duke of York. Under British rule, the city grew slowly but steadily. Farms spread northward, ships filled the harbor, and enslaved Africans were forced to build roads, docks, and homes. By the early 1700s, New York had become a major colonial city, but it was still far from the giant it would become. Then came rebellion. A city in revolution. By the mid-1700s, tensions between the American colonies in Britain were rising. New York found itself torn. Some residents supported independence, while others remained loyal to the crown. During the American Revolutionary War, New York became a battleground. The British occupied the city for much of the war, turning it into a military base. Fires destroyed large sections of Manhattan. Soldiers crowded the streets. Ordinary people suffered. When the war ended in 1783 and the British finally left, New York was damaged but free. For a brief moment, New York even served as the first capital of the United States. George Washington was sworn in as the nation's first president at Federal Hall on Wall Street. The city stood at the beginning of a new country. The rise of a great port. In the 1800s, everything began to accelerate. The Erie Canal, completed in 1825, connected New York City to the Great Lakes. Suddenly, goods from deep inside the continent could flow straight to New York Harbor. Trade exploded. Merchants grew rich. Ships arrived from all over the world. New York became the nation's busiest port and its gateway. Immigrants arrived by the millions, fleeing famine, war, and poverty. Irish families escaping the potato famine, Germans seeking opportunity, Italians, Jews from Eastern Europe, Chinese laborers, and many more. They passed through Ellis Island, often carrying nothing but hope. The city was loud, crowded, and chaotic. Tenement buildings packed families into tiny rooms. Streets overflowed with people, animals, and carts. Disease spread easily. Life was hard, but possibilities were endless. New York became a city of dreamers. The city reaches upward. By the late 1800s, New York ran out of space, so it began to grow upward. Steel frame construction and elevators made skyscrapers possible. Buildings rose higher than anyone had ever imagined. The skyline became a symbol of ambition. The Brooklyn Bridge, completed in 1883, connected Manhattan and Brooklyn, proving that engineering could reshape the city itself. Soon after, Brooklyn joined New York City, along with Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, forming the 5 boroughs in 1898. New York was no longer just a city, it was a world. Boom, bust, and resilience. The early 20th century was a golden age. Broadway theaters glowed, jazz filled Harlem, artists, writers, and musicians reshaped American culture. But then came 1929. The stock market crashed on Wall Street, triggering the Great Depression. Banks failed, jobs disappeared, bread lines stretched across sidewalks. The city that symbolized success now faced despair. Yet New York endured. Massive public projects, bridges, parks, and highways kept the city moving, and when World War II began, New York once again became a center of industry and power. After the war, the city changed again. Some residents moved to suburbs, factories closed. By the 1970s, crime was high, buildings crumbled, and the city nearly went bankrupt. Many believed New York was finished. They were wrong. A city that refuses to fall. In the 1980s and 1990s, New York began to reinvent itself. Neighborhoods once ignored came back to life. Culture, finance, fashion, and media thrived. Immigrants continued to arrive, adding new languages, foods, and traditions. Then came September 11th, 2001. When the Twin Towers fell, the world watched in shock. New York was wounded deeply, but not broken. The city mourned, rebuilt, and stood together. Where destruction once stood, new towers rose. Memory and resilience became part of the skyline. New York today. Today, New York is home to over 8 million people speaking hundreds of languages. It is a center of finance, art, technology, fashion, and politics. It is loud, imperfect, overwhelming, and alive. From Lenape footpaths to subway lines, from wooden huts to glass towers, from a small trading post to a global capital. New York was never just built, it was imagined, struggled for, fought over, and constantly remade by the people who dared to believe in it. And that is the true story of New York, a city that never stops becoming.